Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Harne podcast. Today's episode is going to be focused on management consulting. Now, this is a very popular stream, and a lot of people want to work in it. Our guest for today is Anchal Sharma, who is a management consultant at PwC. Anchal gives us insights into the life of a management consultant, how he was able to break into it post his Schulich MBA, and how you can do so as well. Now, before we begin, I would like to take a moment to request you to subscribe to the channel, press the like button, and leave us a comment down below. Now, sit back and enjoy as the episode with Anchal begins shortly. So thank you, Anchal, so much for your time. And how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Raghav. Thank you so much for having me today here. It's been a pleasure, or like a pleasure of 2 years with you during the MBA, and I'm glad that we are doing this together again. And like kudos to you on taking this initiative. I hope this helps people out in transitioning their career journey from India to Canada.
Yeah, that is the intent. And thank you so much for your good wishes. You are very kind with your words. So, Anchal, can we start by telling us a little about your background? What's your background? What's your work experience? Where are you from? So, please start
For
by that.
sure, yeah. I come from a small town in India, it's called Bhopal, Madhya Pradesh. I studied there mostly my high school. After my high school, I left for engineering. And I studied from Amit University, Rajasthan. Uh, Worked as a studied BTech in computer science engineering for 4 years from there. After that, I started working with Wipro Technologies, and I worked there for four long years as a database administrator, where my roles and responsibilities primarily focus towards data modeling, data architecture, reporting, end-to-end process maps, and such things related to more geared towards data analytics front. After which I transitioned to TCS for a few months, and the gig did not last long. But yeah, I decided to pursue MBA from there, and that's I'll walk you through my MBA journey in a few minutes. But yeah, this is the background that I come from. But right now in Canada, I'm working as a senior consultant at PwC in their finance transformation practice. It's been great working here so far, and yeah, I'll walk you through the details in a minute.
Yeah, that's fabulous that you made that transition from a data warehouse to senior consultant at PwC. I'm sure you have a lot of experience and valuable insights to share with our listeners. So, at like once you were done working for Wipro and TCS, you were there for in TCS for a few months, like you said. After that, what was your motivation for pursuing an MBA? You felt that this was not your calling. You wanted to make that transition. What was going through your mind?
Yeah, definitely. That's a great question, Raghav. One of the primary reasons I wanted to pursue MBA, because coming from a technical background, I did not have much knowledge into how the businesses work themselves, how these big organizations operate. So
Mhm.
that itself was a black box to me. I coming from a data warehousing point of view, or coming from a tech point of view, I wanted to understand the overall overarching picture, which which kind of like my lack of business knowledge like pulled me back in order to understand the overall picture. And I was really curious on how the organizations operate in other fronts, such as how the operations work, how the finance
Mhm.
processes works, and that's how their strategy works. Strategy being the keyword here, because I pursued my MBA
Mhm.
and tried majoring in strategy overall. So that is one of the biggest motivators which pushed me to pursue MBA, and I'm glad that I did it with my colleagues in Schulich.
Right. Yeah, you used a word which is very commonly used, but not a lot of people understand the nuances of it. And that word is strategy. So could you please explain like what exactly is strategy to in layman's words?
For sure. So strategy, for starters, it's a company. They work in an environment which is difficult to navigate. They have to budget. They have to budget how many dollars they will be spending in the coming months, how
Mhm.
many employees they need to hire in the coming months, or what projects are are coming for the company overall? Are
Mhm,
there any revenues which will be able to sustain, or will they be able to survive in the
mhm.
coming months? It's similar to us, like how you build a strategy for your career, or
Okay.
what you are going to do in next 5 years, or
Mhm,
next 10 years, or during your life. Such is the case with companies too. They want to build more on the same. They want to know where they should be going in current and the next 5 years,
mhm.
what their competitors would look like, and how much will they be able to survive those challenges or not. And so strategy overall encompasses these domains. They need to understand how many dollars they need to survive for this next 5 years, or where they need to fight, or which markets to fight in.
Mhm.
So those things encompass strategy as a bigger picture.
So I think that's a good analogy you use between how an individual plans his future and how a company plans its future. So somewhat similar. That is what is strategy. So you wanted to understand how businesses function, not
Yeah,
just from the data warehouse point of it, but
yeah,
from different domains like operations, and get a holistic picture about businesses. And that is what led you to pursue your MBA.
that is true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is very much true.
All right. And then after that, the big decision comes like whether to pursue your MBA from India or to pursue it from a different country. Specifically, you pursued it from Canada. And there are different colleges in Canada. There are several top universities. You chose Schulich. So
Yeah.
could you walk us through those decisions, please?
Yeah, so the different decision points uh, came into picture while I decided to pursue MBA from Canada and Schulich overall. I'll start from day one. Like I started preparing for my GMAT.
Mhm,
Once I went into the nitty-gritties, I understood. Uh, I had zeroed in a few colleges first, but first my GMAT score also mattered a lot,
mhm.
because it would differentiate against the other candidates where I can apply. Will I be applying to a tier one college versus a tier two college or tier three college, or in which country I can apply for?
Correct.
So for me, it was one of the biggest factors, my GMAT score. Once
Mhm,
I had that in place, I zeroed in a few colleges or a few universities where I found that I would be, my experience would help me crack those schools
mhm,
in a much more strategic way, and where I could gain some knowledge, and talking strategically in a from a geography point of view, from
mhm,
immigration point of view.
mhm.
So yes, my first choice was USA, but due to
Okay.
strict immigration laws,
Mhm,
uh, I zeroed in more on towards Canada.
mhm.
Due to one first being this easy immigration laws over here in Canada, it's relatively easier once you complete your MBA.
That's
Uh,
correct.
it's relatively easier for students to gain a PR position,
Mhm,
like if they work for one additional year, if they gain some
mhm,
Canadian experience, that is.
mhm.
So this helped me zeroed into Canada. Once I did, I wanted to understand which universities would be suitable for my appetite, which
Mhm,
or will they be able to meet the objectives of why I am doing MBA, right?
mhm,
So uh, I did get admission from different provinces such as Quebec.
mhm.
However, French being one of the primary languages spoken in Quebec,
Correct.
I thought that it would be relatively difficult for me to understand or learn another language,
Mhm.
and due to those language constraints, I found that Toronto would be a sweet spot, since it is one of the biggest cities in Canada.
Yep.
Second being Vancouver, third being Montreal. But
Mhm,
I really like Toronto because its proximity to North America, to or to sorry Quebec or Montreal, and has like really serene, beautiful places to visit as well,
yeah.
which is again one of my decision point because I'm a huge fan of traveling.
Okay.
Uh, Apart from that, yes, the fee structure
Mhm,
for Schulich was something that I found that I would be able to afford in the long run,
mhm,
whereas some of the universities were required longer periods of time. For example, some had 2 years, or some had 1 year of MBA program
mhm.
with the same amount of fees, which
Yeah.
I did not find much value in. Whereas Schulich did come up with a mix and match of those experience, or those duration. So
Mhm,
I had like I had all these different credits spread out into different years,
mhm.
which helped me like take that time off from the work, understand the nitty-gritties of how the organizations work, and
Okay.
that's where Schulich came into the picture, and I think that's one of the top reasons I chose Schulich over any other school.
Yeah. Thank you, Anchal. You touched an important topic over there, the 1 year versus 2 year MBA debate. So
Yeah.
you said that you found 2 year MBA more valuable as compared to a 1 year MBA. Could you elaborate on that, please? What was it exactly about a 1 year MBA which you did not find so much to your liking?
So to your point, that's a really great question. So
Mhm,
I think 2 year MBA provides you with more time. Yes, definitely. And the
mhm.
time required during your MBA is really necessary because one of the important things I found useful during my MBA was the connection or the
Okay.
network that I have built
Mhm,
during my MBA.
mhm,
Once you start working with a key set of people, or once you start like working with different people from different backgrounds, you have
mhm.
relatively more amount of time to learn from their experience. In our class, Raghav, bro, you remember that people work from hospitality, people came
Yeah.
from operations, people came from tech and whatnot.
Mhm, mhm.
So sitting with them, working in different small strategy related projects or 601 related projects and
Yeah.
whatnot, during which
Mhm,
were key during our MBA curriculum. I think I learned a lot from them, and I think that transition happened over time. So for the 1 year MBA, I think it did not provide me enough. It won't provide me that much amount of duration for me to learn or grasp those many data points from various people, right? I think that 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 was definitely possible in that 2 year program. I was able to connect closely with our instructors as well, and
mhm.
build those relationships, which was very much required when you start working over here in Canada, because once you reach at a certain level, you know whom to call for
Yeah.
specific project if you
Mhm,
face any hurdles.
mhm.
And the network effect, which we it's a MBA terminology, network effect, it kicks in, and you have that power over others who did not have an MBA under their belt.
Yeah, sure. No, that's a good insight, I think. So 2 years gives you more time to build those relationships, and networking over here is an important part of getting a job. So the better relationships you have, the better your chances of landing up a job over here. So you touched upon a jargon, and on this podcast, we try to avoid jargons. So could you
Right.
please explain what is the network effect?
For sure, the network effect, as we call it in the MBA, is the bigger your network is,
Mhm,
uh, the better your odds are of being successful. So, applications or a new product, they follow this effect. They try to onboard more number of users.
mhm.
The more number of users they have, the more they can talk about your product to their friends and tell them, oh, did you use this product? And that's how it branches out. So if you have two users, they'll tell to their two friends, which become like four and four, and it exponentially grows. So it becomes like a huge tree. So that's what the network effect is.
It's network effect basically explains how the word of mouth spreads about an application, product, or even a person.
Or even a person, yeah,
So yeah,
definitely.
thank you so much for explaining that to us. So now when you entered your MBA and then you made the decision of entering consulting. So consulting again is a very broad field over here. So were you clear on which field of consulting you wanted to go into? If you could explain the different roles and fields in consulting which we have, and then if you could expand on which field of consulting you wanted to go into.
Okay, so that pushes me back to the previous point of why MBA. So one of the
Mhm,
reasons of me pursuing MBA was that I wanted to play in the niche role, which is an amalgamation of business and technology, so that me being a person who has tech experience, I
mhm.
can play in between that intersection, and I can see that the demand for those skill sets and a techno-functional role is increasing over here in Canada.
Okay. And you
So
figured this out while you were in India.
that is true. That is true,
Okay.
because I
Okay.
can see like uh, people from business domain, they for them technical jargons are something that they do not understand. So you have
Mhm.
to stretch benchmark them and put it in a story format so that they would be able to grasp what's happening under the hood, because they do not have a technology degree, right?
Okay.
Whereas an amalgamation of technology and business is something which would be a key deciding factor in the coming days, since
Mhm.
most of the applications, most of the integrations that are happening with the organizations right now is tech based.
Correct.
And I think that region will grow, the demand will increase, and that's one of the key reasons I wanted to pursue MBA. That
Mhm.
being said, I wanted to put my hands into consulting, get my hands dirty, because I was coming from a tech background. I did not have like that experience of communicating strategy with the client, which is
Correct.
very much required if I want to play in that field where an
Mhm.
amalgamation, which I talked about, right? The
Mhm.
intersection between tech and business.
Mhm.
I need to learn the lingo. I need to learn the business jargons
Mhm.
and how they talk, whom to connect with, how the business processes works over here in Canada, which is
Correct.
very much important if you were to put your hands into consulting, because in consulting it gives you more of an opportunity to switch between various industries. Because let's say in my vertical where I'm working right now, we have projects from government to
Mhm.
manufacturing
Mhm.
to telecommunications and whatnot. So I myself can choose those respective industries where I want to play,
Mhm.
and that's why I think I wanted to put my hands more into consulting. Raghav.
And could you please explain the different types of consultings which you have? So we have something called as a management consulting, then there's technology consulting. So if you could elaborate on the types of consulting and what exactly is it that you are doing in your role right now?
Definitely. So an organization has various, it's subdivided into various parts.
Mhm.
First being, let's say, management. They decide on the strategy which we covered before.
Mhm.
So the management requires additional set of eyes to scrutinize their strategy, whether they are doing fine or not. Let's say if you were to take your 5-year career plan to one of your friends, and they
Mhm.
will poke holes into your plan. They will say,
Correct.
okay, Raghav, you don't have enough budget
Mhm.
to cover your finances for the next 5 years. If you were to pursue an MBA, why don't
Mhm.
you go for an MS instead? So
Correct.
the management does require the same set of eyes for someone to say
Mhm.
that you are not performing better. Your competitors are, and they might outrun you in some days
Mhm.
or some years. So that's why
Okay.
that's one of the key aspects. It's management consulting.
Okay, that is management consulting where you are advising the top
Uh,
management.
Sorry, I think I lost you there, Raghav.
No,
Which I,
so what I'm saying is what you said just described management consulting, in which you actually work with the top tiers, the C
yeah,
level people or the higher level managers, and give them advice on their strategy
that
going
is correct.
forward. That's
Yeah,
management consulting. All right.
that is correct.
And,
And we
and
then, yeah,
yeah, go
sorry,
ahead.
go ahead.
Go
So
ahead.
for me, I was just describing another segment. So we
Mm-hmm.
have other segments such as technology. CTOs look after the technology domain.
Mm-hmm.
CFOs look after the financial domain. So we have
Correct.
technology consulting, finance consulting.
Mm-hmm.
COOs look at more of the operational end. So that's why we have
Correct.
operational consulting,
Mm-hmm.
and these operations are further subdivided into different categories. So
Mm-hmm.
let's say an HR, for an HR, in order to make those processes more easy,
Mm-hmm.
we have Workday consulting. Workday being one of the tools to manage full-time employees or contractual employees and so
Correct.
on. So
Mm-hmm.
consulting is nothing but a fresh companies buying a fresh pair of eyes to help them understand or scrutinize their processes and help them develop and grow with respect to the industry standards of where better. So that's one of the reasons of consulting, as the term itself is, explains.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so for me, I am working in finance transformation, which is a part of
Okay.
finance consulting.
Mm-hmm.
What our team does is help C-suite employees, FP&A, which is called Financial Processes and Analysis
Mm-hmm.
team. They have like different teams, so
Okay.
FP&A being one of them. We help them in order to understand how they manage their numbers, how they should see their numbers, and what their processes look like, if they are performing better than their competitors or not, and
Okay.
what they should do instead of what they are currently doing. For me, I am working in the management reporting.
Okay.
So for the financial, for the people in finance, they read their numbers in a certain manner.
Okay.
They have something called sheets, balance sheet, income
Mm-hmm.
statement, P&L
Mm-hmm.
statement. I know I'm
Mm-hmm.
covering a lot of jargon here, Raghav, but
No, that's fine.
Yeah, these are some of the ways that people that finance people used to look their numbers at. And what we do is optimize their processes uh, in order to understand how that data is coming from. And let's say if a user sits in India, they input their numbers for a certain region. Let's say $100 was spent on purchasing the supplies for office,
Mhm.
right? Uh, that number comes from an Excel file and it makes it way to another database. And
Okay.
from that database, it's transferred to another database and so
Mhm.
on. So there are multiple databases connected which
Mhm.
talk to each other.
Mhm.
And at the end of the day, the CFO of the company looks at that $100 or 100
Mhm.
rupees
Mhm.
in a certain format. So where we come into picture is tell them that why do you have so many databases? Why don't you have
Okay.
only single database? If
Mhm.
you were to have single database, it will reduce X number of dollars transaction fees, X number of dollars in operations fees.
Mhm.
Why you have 13 different employees for each database, you can
Mhm.
free that capacity, remove those full-time employees, and
Mhm.
make your project or processes more lean. So
Mhm.
that's where we as a team come into picture as a consulting in a consulting domain and in the larger set of view in finance transformation.
Yeah, that sounds very interesting. So, if I could summarize what you said, your role currently is to look at business processes and try to reduce the operational cost. So, when
Yeah,
the costs go down for the company, the profits obviously go up, and
yeah,
that is what you help the companies with. Yeah.
yeah, that is correct. That's one of the biggest incentive always as a selling point.
Mhm.
Whenever we pitch clients, we tell them the number of dollars we can save for the clients, the number of employees, or if they can make their projects much more leaner.
Mhm.
That's one of the biggest incentive for the clients, and that's why they hire us. Yeah.
Sure. So I can see that you had a background in data warehousing. You knew how databases interact with each other. Is that why this particular field of consulting made sense to you? You did not think about going into other fields of consulting?
So yeah, I did want to explore other forms of consulting as
Mhm.
well, but I always wanted to jump into management consulting,
Mhm.
and I saw an opportunity in PwC. I applied for it. Thankfully, I got it. It's difficult,
Mhm.
but I thankfully got
Yeah.
it. I wanted to again jump into technology consulting since
Okay.
my background was similar to that,
Mhm.
and I think clients would have leveraged my previous experience in database
Mhm. Mhm.
administration.
Mhm.
Also, on top of that, I think operational consulting was not my forte, since
Okay.
I used to stray away from operational related courses
And
during my
why is
MBA
that?
as well. It's like I did not find it interesting, to be honest.
Okay.
I found this Lean Six Sigma processes pretty boring. So
Mhm.
it was something that did not ring my bell ever. So
Okay.
I just did not pay much attention to operational related courses.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think yeah, that's one of the key reasons I wanted to stay away from operational consulting. Whereas
Mhm.
consulting related technology and management was something where I think my bigger purpose like my bigger purpose would be solved, since I
Mhm.
wanted to communicate with the clients over here in the North American market and
Yeah.
understand their pain points, the management's pain points,
Mhm. Mhm.
and scrutinize their functions coming from a tech point of view and from a
Mhm.
business angle as well. So I can give them like a bigger picture view on how their processes are operating from a tech point of view,
Mhm.
and and tell them the in-depth analysis using more business or business related jargons which they understand, or a lingo that they understand.
Okay. So until you said that while you were thinking about doing an MBA, you did not understand how the business side of things
Yeah,
operate. Whereas in your current role in consulting, you get to balance, you act as a bridge between the business sides and the technology side.
yeah.
So, what did MBA help you achieve? What skills did you learn during your MBA which filled that knowledge gap you had earlier on how to communicate with the clients? So, what did you learn during your MBA which helped you?
That's a great question, bro. One of the best subjects I learned during my MBA was managing change, on how
Okay.
to integrate or how to implement those change related processes.
Mhm.
Uh, how people would behave if you were to integrate change. Imagine if you were to come one day in your office
Mhm.
and you don't see your laptop. It's not the usual Windows laptop that you see used to work with, but now it's a MacBook. You definitely would be happy, might be happy because it's an Apple laptop, but
Mhm.
uh, since you don't use it like as much, it would be difficult for you to operate on that specific laptop, right?
Correct.
And and you would might get frustrated working on those laptop. So these kind of change related events happen in the company multiple times,
Mhm.
and this is exactly one of the why it has like element of psychology to it as well. So that's one of the
Mhm.
key subjects I really loved during my MBA. And while working right now in a finance transformation, I
Mhm.
can implement those change related process and see why people are not adopting to the solutions that we are building.
Okay.
What must be going inside their heads, and how we can mitigate those changes.
Mhm.
So small things like these come into picture once I like integrate my business related findings or my MBA related learnings during my
Mhm.
workday. This is just one of the dimensions which I just explained with being change management. But
Mhm.
the second biggest course what I learned during my MBA was negotiations.
Uh-huh.
It is a key, and it is imperative to put negotiations under your belt, because you would find yourself in Canada negotiating salaries with different HRs with at every promotional level. You have
Mhm.
to do that. So
Mhm.
you need to know how to do that in a professional manner. And
Mhm.
MBA did teach me that in a very professional setting, and I learned from people from different people, since people were from different backgrounds in
Correct.
MBA. I
Mhm.
learned how they scrutinize their problems, or how they used to negotiate during in their industry versus how a person from tech would negotiate, right? So that also
Mhm.
gave me much of the leverage to understand things, and bring that objectives and insights forward during my negotiation processes while I was interviewing for PwC Canada.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I that helps not just during the interviewing process, but you are constantly negotiating with the clients as well. You're negotiating with the members of your team. So apart from your helping you in the job interview process, that also helps you in your day-to-day workings as a consultant.
Definitely, yeah. You'll always find you're selling yourself in the
Mhm.
professional market over here in Canada. Whether it be LinkedIn, whether you are
Mhm.
connecting with someone over here, you need to have that sales pitch ready, or which we call the elevator pitch.
Yeah.
And once you have that, you might find yourself negotiating someday with the clients
Mhm.
on a particular project, on what should be onboarded on what components. So
Mhm.
you'll eventually find yourself negotiating a lot more than you would think.
Yeah, I think that's a great insight, Anshul. So tell us the story of how did you land up this job at PwC? I mean, you said that you wanted to go into management consulting. You had a background in data warehousing. How did you end up at this job?
Yeah, so I would want to walk you through like a small story, or like the real world example, like which I faced during my
Please.
MBA.
Mhm.
Second year, it was second year of my MBA, and I
Mhm.
landed in Toronto.
Mhm.
Um, I'm in the middle of pandemic, and I found myself that I won't be able to attend networking events anymore.
Yep.
Uh, that's exactly when I figured that everyone of us figured that LinkedIn is the key way, and we have to eventually succumb to Zoom coffee chats.
Mhm.
Uh, we connected with different people over here, and the emphasis on networking has always been huge from our professors and our seniors whom I connected with. But
Mhm.
I personally did not was not a fan of networking.
Okay.
I talked to myself and said, how can I talk to someone random uh,
Mhm.
for 30 minutes on a call and try to sell myself? That concept was just unheard of. I was
Mhm.
not coming from a certain culture, right? Was
Yeah.
I did not know North American way of doing things,
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
it was a foreign concept to me. So I succumbed to applying for and to the job roles in a cold manner, cold applications as we call it over here, which is
Yeah.
how you apply for the jobs without networking. If you see a
Mhm.
job on LinkedIn, you just click on apply, upload your resume, and send it across. It's
Just
cold
like to
applications
just
that
to
we call it.
elaborate, when you just click apply and upload your resume, that is called the cold
That is
application.
called,
Yeah.
yeah, that is definitely called cold applications. And I
Uh-huh.
thought, why not? Because I can see, I read those job descriptions which
Mhm.
mentions the job duties and responsibilities,
Mhm.
and I said to myself that I belong here. This is just me. This is what they are looking for. I
Mhm.
bring 5 years of experience into this role, and why won't they select me? There's no reason for them not to.
Correct.
And it's not just one role which I applied to like that. There were multiple roles, but
Mhm.
I eventually found a lot of rejection mails in my email box.
Okay.
In my inbox,
Mhm.
I had like, sorry, until someone else was taken for that position, or sorry, we
Mhm.
cannot hire you that time.
Mhm.
I was so heartbroken and I was shattered. Like I did
Mhm.
not understand what I'm doing wrong here. I bring
Mhm.
all the key skill sets to the table.
Correct.
Uh, but that's when I talked to my peers, also by one of my friend, Damanjot.
Mhm.
He was getting multiple calls, and I talked to him about my strategy, and he mentioned, until cold application is not the way. Try networking first and see how it gives you more results.
Mhm.
And that's when I had to literally push myself. I made that elevator pitch, sat down with myself, wrote that elevator pitch for myself, practice it 100 times,
Mhm.
and start calling out people on LinkedIn, reaching out to people with
If I could just stop you over there, could you please explain to the listeners what's an elevator pitch? Yeah.
definitely. So an elevator pitch is, as we call it, is something that if you are in in an elevator with someone, or someone like professionally, let's say a CFO, CTO,
Mhm.
or a
Mhm.
C-level employee or a manager, and you want
Mhm.
to sell yourself to them, what you
Mhm.
would bring to the table, and you just have that time with him in the elevator. It's like a 1 minute pitch, which we call it. So you only
Okay.
have 1 minute to sell, and in that 1 minute, you
Mhm.
tell those users, tell these key employees what you could bring to the table and why they
Correct.
should hire you, is what is
Mhm.
called an
Mhm.
elevator pitch. I strategically started networking with people who had key skill sets which I wanted to develop, and also had like similar kind of experience as I do. So I can
Okay.
have some meaningful conversations with them,
Mhm.
find a common ground which I can conversate during those 30 minutes of call.
Mhm.
And what I found was truly magical. Uh, I think it was just one of those challenges I was running away from, because I personally did not like it. But
Mhm.
once I started tackling those challenges, the piece which I call is called the networking itself, I started liking it. I started enjoying the process more as I network with people, because
Mhm.
one of the main objectives of networking was to understand their work culture, the
Mhm.
company's work culture, and
Mhm.
the how they're performing their job duties, what my career would look like if I were to step into their shoes. Things
Okay.
started becoming much more clear to me once I talked to these key people.
Mhm.
And I think networking overall brought a lot of value to my life. I still network internally in
Mhm.
PwC to
Yeah.
people whom I think would help me, and I take that opportunity uh, opportunity to help people out once they ask for it. So I think that's really important over here, developing that networking
Yeah.
capabilities, networking skill sets, elevator
Mhm.
pitch,
Mhm.
etc.
Now, you touch upon a very important topic because a lot of people are very shy at reaching out to others over LinkedIn because, as you rightly said, you are reaching out to a complete stranger,
That's
and
true.
you start to negate yourself. You
Yeah,
get in your own way, like this person will not talk to me, why will he
yeah,
give me the time of his life? So you
that's true.
start to get in your own way, and it is an important mental shift you have to undergo in order to secure that job. And once you start doing it, like it happened with you, you gradually start enjoying the process, and you realize that
Yeah,
relationships are very, very important, not just in your professional life but in your personal life as well. Because I believe once you have, like, say, 10 years of work experience, 15 years of work experience, you are not going to go over LinkedIn and then start applying for jobs. After, once you are
definitely.
at that level in your career, you're just going to pick up a phone call and call up your friend in XYZ company and said, hey, do you have a job for me? So it's extremely important to build those relationships. And thank you so much for that, Anchal. If I could just ask you to, you don't have to say it word by word, But
Mhm.
could you give us an idea of what your elevator pitch was like?
Definitely. I don't have it handy right now,
That's fine.
Raghav bhai, but okay, I can give it a shot. So I would definitely start with hello, my name is Anchal Sharma. I have BTech and an MBA degree under my belt. I have 5 years of industry experience in technology domain where I used to build data models and analyze data pipelines for the end users, such that users would be able to see their numbers in a clear and concise format. And I reduced 30% of the capacity by developing data modeling solutions for the client and integrating or migrating to the new processes,
Correct.
and saved hundred thousands of dollars for clients belonging from industries to telecommunications to oil, manufacturing, and CPG.
Mhm.
Uh, and with my MBA experience overall, I think I would be able to talk to key people in business and technology, and I would that's exactly what I would want to where I would want to play. And I think my key skill set would create fair value. I tend to research more about that client or the person's company if they are working in a certain division or which specific projects they are working in. So
Mhm.
I would tend to insert or customize my elevator pitch such that they would find something meaningful in my resume. So, for example, while I was applying for the finance transformation job, I knew that they wanted someone from a data analytics point of view. So I
Correct.
pushed or modified my elevator pitch accordingly,
Mhm.
such that they understood that they would want to see my resume more. So they would want to
Mhm.
drill down on those
Yeah.
key selling points, as I would call it, right?
Mhm.
I would purposely insert those jargons inside my elevator pitch, practice
Mhm.
them 2 3 times, and
Mhm.
deliver it. So that would act as a selling point. Once they ask for my resume, I would tailor my resumes according to the job descriptions. So
Mhm.
they again find some value that could differentiate me against the pool of candidates that apply for the same jobs. And believe me, if you are applying for a job here in Canada, hundreds and thousands of people might, even thousands of people might apply to the same role. So you
Correct.
really need to differentiate yourself as an applicant.
No, I think that's an excellent elevator pitch. Obviously, you don't have so many words to describe yourself because you have about a limit of 300 words on LinkedIn
Yeah, that's
when you
true.
reach out to somebody. But you, in your elevator pitch, I noticed that you were very good in highlighting those skills which you possess. So you had, you mentioned words like data report, you mentioned data modeling, and then what results were you able to draw? Like you mentioned that you made the process more efficient. So these are the points which everyone should keep in mind when they are preparing the elevator pitch, so that the reader comes to know exactly what is it that you can offer and what type of results you have delivered in the past.
Mm. Definitely.
So that,
Yeah, I think that's really point, Raghu bhai. One of the two things that people that used to like create in strategy are the two key questions, as we call in strategy,
Mhm.
is where to play and how to win. So you
Correct.
need to know where you want to play,
Mhm.
be it technology consulting, be it management consulting, finance
Mhm.
consulting. Is it consulting in the first place? If you want to go to a product manager role, you
Mhm.
have you need to know where do you want to play. How to win is the second leg. You
Mhm.
need to understand what would be the key differentiating factors. In this case, it could be your work experience. It could be
Correct.
those keywords which the recruiters might be looking for,
Mhm.
or tailoring all of your resumes, all of your job experience according to the role that they wanted. So yes, it becomes imperative over here for the success in the job market overall in a long run.
That's great advice, Anshul. Now, you mentioned transferable skills, and management consulting these days is a hot industry to get into. Everyone wants to go into management consulting, and you have been one of the few lucky ones to get into it. So, from your background and the skills which you learned during your MBA, what are the key skills you would say that one needs to cultivate or one should have already in order to be successful in management consulting?
Okay, so I think that's a answer for that would be an MBA answer, which would be it depends. But for me, I would say I would for finance transformation and the management reporting. If you're coming to the finance domain, I
Mhm.
think it would be those keywords, those result sets, which you would write in your resume. How much amount of time you took in order to deliver that result, for you in
Okay.
your past experience, in
Hmm.
what format. So as we call it, the STAR format, right? It's
Correct.
situation, task, action, result. Is
Hmm.
STAR is, again, for the listeners, it's a framework which applicants should follow while
Hmm.
they are delivering a question to an interview question, right? So if I were to ask you, how did you see, how did you foresee over a team of 10 people,
Correct.
you tend to give that answer in a star format. So you
Hmm.
tend to give situation first, task, action, and the result. So your action and result piece is something that is very important for the recruiters.
Hmm.
So try like analyzing what you did and what the impact looked like during
Hmm.
your previous years of experience,
Hmm.
and try wrapping that up in a good format, so that you would be able to sell that package in a neatly format way. And management consulting is, again, as Raghav mentioned, like, the key skill sets over here would be sales. You need to
Okay.
know how to sell yourself.
Hmm.
And I think we mostly touched base on some of those skill sets, on the selling skill sets, negotiations, uh,
Okay.
elevator pitch,
Hmm.
how to connect with people, how to network with people. I think once you do that, once you have those things built in you,
Hmm.
people whom you would be networking inside the management consulting industry would
Yeah.
definitely pay a lot of weightage to these skill sets, these key points, on how you talk to them, whether you would be able to sell yourself to them in a format that they are looking for. Because eventually you would be sitting in front of the client and doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And the skill set of communication,
Hmm.
negotiation,
Hmm.
elevator pitches is something that becomes imperative to success in the long run in the management consulting. Yes, hard skills are something that you might come up, but those soft skills are something, those mentorship culture over here in management consulting is, again, it's huge, right? So you will have people whom you can connect with, understand
Okay.
what skill sets to develop in
Hmm.
terms of communication and selling, and I think you would make your way into the consulting in no time then.
Sure. That's really good advice, because people tend to ignore the soft skills. They think that if I, like, say, if you come from a data warehouse background, so they think that if I am very good at data warehouse, I should be able to crack this job interview. But that's not how exactly it works. You
That's
need
true.
to have those hard skills, right? But soft skills also play a very important part, because if you don't have them, you will not be able to present yourself, present your hard skills in a way that is impressive to the recruiting manager, right?
For sure, definitely. I think yes. I think both play a huge role in your success in your career. However, soft skills are something that differentiate you from the rest of the candidates during those networking calls. Uh, I also connect with multiple people who want to crack management consulting. I connect with a
Yeah.
lot of freshers,
Hmm.
and I see the way they poise themselves, the way
Hmm.
they dress themselves for that
Hmm.
specific networking call,
Hmm.
the way they have done their research before talking to me, or
Hmm.
in my point of view, I would want to say that they would have done their homework, right?
Okay. Hmm.
And where they would want to go, how they can use me as a person. Would they want to connect someone? Would they want me to connect them with someone special, or they
Hmm.
want me to refer them to PwC,
Hmm.
or it be something else? It really word of advice. So those key skill sets makes them differentiate amongst the rest of the candidates who come to the networking call without preparing at all. They
Hmm.
might not know what they are speaking about. They might have just scheduled that call so that
Hmm.
they can just tell themselves, yes, they are doing the networking, but they need to understand that they are taking 30 minutes of someone's time. They need to have that they need to do their homework right, and that's why I think that would act as a differentiator if someone were to ask me for a referral in my company, because I know they might work with me in future
Hmm.
projects,
Hmm.
and I could always count on them on the results that they'll be bringing to the table.
Correct. Now, I think that's a very important point. Basically, I think it comes down to having that clarity, because I
Yeah,
think a lot of people have just heard that management consulting is the cool thing to do. It pays really well. So somehow I want to get into management consulting, but they haven't done the research as to what it is, exactly that management consultants do they really fit into that role? If they want to do it, what is it that they want from you?
For sure.
So if they have that clarity, and I think a good way to differentiate yourself from the pool of candidates is to have that clarity of what it is exactly that you want to do. Yeah.
For sure, Raghav. I think like as a management consultant, we spend a lot of time in meetings. We spend a
Mhm.
lot of time with clients, speaking to them, talking about their pain points, researching about their pain points, and
Yeah.
delegating most of the work to our junior level employees and taking a huge chunk of work from the upper management. So there's a lot of back and forth coordination. There's a lots and lots of note taking while we are in those meetings, right? So
Mhm. Mhm.
it definitely gets frustrating at some time because you might have to work longer hours. You might find yourself working 16 hours a day as well. So
Okay.
so I think structure also comes as a key skill set over here, because you need to structure your thoughts, people you're talking to,
Mhm.
what their pain points look like, and how you can bring or create value to those set of people you are connecting on a day-to-day basis, versus then you have to prepare yourself for the next day. So again, you have to be proactive, you have to be on top of the work. So those key skill sets are something which the applicants might develop during their MBA days.
Mhm.
Try taking on more responsibilities while you are doing the MBA. Be it if you are working in a team of 6 people, let's say if
Mhm.
you create that document, take that leadership position,
So you mean in
and
the group projects, like you
in the
have a
group
team of
projects,
six
yeah, in
during your MBA, try to take on more and more work.
more and more work or more more leadership related roles.
Mhm.
Try organizing those meetings. Do maybe try doing the administrative work for the team
Mhm.
and one of the projects, or take on the leadership responsibility, and the other, let's say a 601 will give you multiple opportunities to switch leadership between your different team members. Try taking that position, see for your what your leadership style is and the kind of challenges you're facing from your teammates, and
Mhm.
you might analyze that you might be doing something wrong or they might be doing something wrong, and how you can navigate that, because those set of problems would be the same set of problems you will face once you come to the professional setting. Because let's say if you were to really lead a team, you might face the same kind of backlashing from your teammates which you saw during your 601. So I think MBA does give you um, those opportunities to understand your leadership style, or the
Mhm.
kind of worker you would become, or the kind of employee you would become in the future.
And not only that, if I may add to that, if you take on more responsibility, you also gain that clarity of what is it that you like. Are you cut out to be a leader? Or do you have some way to go? Do you need to develop some skills? So taking on that work will actually lead you to getting that clarity of thought. Yeah.
For sure, I
and
yeah,
and I think I read this somewhere that everyone knows the great Spider-Man quote that with great power comes great responsibility,
for sure.
but the reverse is true. So if you take great responsibility, you will have great power. So once you take more and more responsibility, you automatically get closer to being the leader in that group. So
Wow.
people usually try to shy away from the work, but when it comes to presenting or taking the leadership role, they are the first one to raise their hand and say, no, I'll present or I'll be the leader of this group. But the one who does the most work, the one who takes on the most responsibility is actually the leader in that group.
Yeah, and Raghav, I've seen that happen in my projects and in the teams that I work with. People who do take more responsibilities tend to gain that more centrality as well. They are
Mhm.
more visible to the clients. They are more visible to other people, and they become like a key contact point, or SME as we call it. So
Yeah.
I think that quote really goes a long way when you say that the more responsibility it translates to
More
more power.
power.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's totally true. Yeah,
Any,
yeah.
yeah, go ahead, please.
I was just saying that, yeah, those long meetings might get frustrating. So,
Mhm.
like those sorry, the project plans or the team plans that you will be doing during your MBA might also help you understand whether you want to put your hands into consulting or not, because someone might find those debates too heated up. They
Mhm.
might find themselves burned out during every single one of those conversations,
Mhm.
and that's when you should basically take a step back and ask yourself that question, whether this is the right field where you would like to go or develop your career in, because you would not want to see yourself working in a consulting firm again and having those heated conversations with your manager or the client, and you say this is the time to call it quits and switch into product management, which you can do. The MBA curriculum itself would provide you with multiple opportunities where you can analyze your working points, your working skill sets, and see if the product management is the right fit for you, or if an operations field is the right fit for you, or something else, right? So understand your calling, start small, and see if you're fitting into one role or one industry over the other.
Yeah, instead of having preconceived notions,
So yeah,
like I said earlier, like management consulting is the buzzword these
yeah,
days, so let's
that's true.
all try. I think before management consulting it was investment banking, so let's all go into investment banking. So instead of following the herd, just try
Yeah,
to figure out what is
but
it that you really like doing, and then take small steps towards that. Yeah.
definitely, I think, yeah,
Yeah.
that's key. That's the key.
I think we are ending towards the last section of this podcast. So, what tips do you have for people apart from the STAR methodology, which you explained earlier? You have any tips for building a resume or management consulting specifically? Any skills which they should highlight in their resume? How should they go about building one? So, if you could shed some light on that, please.
For sure. I think these skill sets for resume building, uh, the more you follow the star format and during your interview processes, I think it will definitely help you leverage better. But putting those key result sets in the amount of time you performed
Mhm,
or took in order to reach that result becomes a key in order
mhm,
for recruiters to check, and they will definitely be scrutinizing your resume versus the other candidates.
mhm,
So make sure you put in those numbers in right. I'm not saying that fudge your numbers, but
mhm,
just understand like which would be those key KPIs which could help you distinguish amongst the other set of candidates. So
mhm,
once you start taking in considerations from the CDC or different people or your colleagues or teammates, I think the more set of eyes will be looking at your resume, the better
mhm,
your resume will be built. It will be much more stronger. So
mhm,
try floating your resume around amongst your peers, amongst your professors, or CDC specialists,
mhm.
and other people whom you would be networking with. Uh, yes, that becomes a key. I think I would strongly emphasize on the networking overall. Resume building would be second to networking, but
Okay.
if you were to definitely ask about the networking, resume building steps or resume
Mhm.
building tips and tricks, I think this the result set definitely uh, wins the round.
Okay.
So yeah, I think put in those keywords, put in those results set in. I think you would do great.
Mhm. I think you highlight an important point over there of sharing your resumes with your peers, not just the CDC or your
Yeah.
professors, but because there is a mindset, people think that if I share my resume with so and so, he might copy it. And
Mm,
then that person will apply for a job and he or she will get that job instead of me. So let me not show it to my peers, but let me directly go to the CDC.
yeah.
But I think that's an important point. You will get great advice. It's like what they say in entrepreneurship, right? Some people think that if I tell my idea, then that person
Yeah.
will steal my idea and build a business, but that is not true. If that person had to do a
That's true.
business, he would have already built that business. So
Uh,
you can use that analogy over here. So if you share your resume with your peers, it will be helpful for you and for the peers as well, so you all benefit. And it's the more the set of eyes that take a look at your resume, the better it is. That's an important point, you think? I
Definitely,
think
and
so. Right?
no, definitely, definitely. This is it. One word that came to my mind while you were explaining the concept was collaboration. I think
Yep.
collaboration will become a key over here. You
Mhm.
have to work with your peers. They will work with you, and that's how you will grow. That's how you will network, and it will become your key set of people whom you will know down the line, and they will definitely be a come in handy, right? Uh, so develop that relationships during the 2-year program that we
Mhm.
talked about, and I think you'll do good.
And then again, I think a lot of candidates have questions regarding the interview process. So you are working at PwC. How is the interview process? Like, how many rounds do you have to undergo? Is there a case study round? How can they go about cracking the case study? You have any tips for them, please?
For sure. I'll talk about my journey, then I can talk about the consulting uh, interview rounds. For
Hmm.
me, there were
Hmm.
4 interview rounds. The first was the
Okay.
higher view round. Higher view round is nothing but a video interview round where I have
Hmm.
to record myself. The prompter will give a few questions to me, such as
Hmm.
what are your case strengths,
Hmm.
what did you do during your past experience,
Hmm.
tell me about the time related questions, and so on. I have to that then submit that video round,
It's
and
like a video essay which
it's
candidates
like a
had to undergo for Schulich. I remember we
that's
had to
true.
answer a video essay. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, very similar to that, Raghavai.
Okay.
The
Hmm.
second round would be once you pass that, it would be an HR round.
Hmm.
They would want to scrutinize your resume, whether you would be a good culture fit to the team.
Hmm.
They would ask you more HR related questions
Yeah.
on why did you apply for PwC? Let's say if applying for PwC, uh, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And some generic question related to that.
Hmm.
Apart from that, then you will have a senior manager round. It was a 1 hour round for me. Uh,
Okay.
Senior manager deep dived into my resume. He
Okay.
scrutinized each one of those keywords I wrote in my resume, asked me
Hmm.
why I had that place and what I did when I faced those challenges, which I told him about. So it was an intensive round, I would say, because lots of technical jargons and terminologies were thrown at me. So I had to analyze and scrutinize those problems. But I did not go through a case interview round. I
Okay.
think it was there before in the senior associate program, like
Okay.
which is exactly my designation. But
Hmm.
I I know they removed it like right now. I don't know why, but they removed it for some time now. And the fourth round was the director round. He also asked me questions related to the frameworks I've worked in, SSAS frameworks or agile related frameworks, what I
Okay.
did and
Hmm.
how I made those processes lean.
Hmm.
It was more geared towards that. Was again a 1 hour interview round. So all in all, there were 4 interview rounds, and that's it. That's After that, I had a negotiations call with my HR,
Okay.
and she mentioned that I made it to PwC, the amount of salary that I'll be getting, and what the additional perks in the
Hmm.
company would look like. If you were to ask me about the general consulting application process,
Hmm. Yeah.
you might face a case interview round, and
Hmm.
you have to be ready for those. If you were to apply for a management consulting role, your case interviews would mostly be focused towards a specific a business problem.
Okay.
It could be an interviewee led versus an interviewer led case study. So
Okay.
prepare for both of them. I would say you might face one over the other, and some companies prefer interviewee led versus some companies prefer interviewer led,
So
right?
could you elaborate on that? Like, what's the difference between an interviewee led and what interview led? How do they
Sure.
differ? Yeah.
For sure. Interviewee led case studies are mostly geared towards for interviewee, how they are thinking, where they are going through. So the recruiter will just be throwing a business problem at you
Okay.
and give you like 5 minutes to create a framework and walk you through that problem, right? Or 15
Okay.
minutes to pause and just you have 15 minutes to analyze that problem and walk you through what you would do. He
So I
won't
think
interrupt.
I'm sorry to
No
interrupt you.
problem.
Is it something like how many tennis balls will fit inside a room? Something along
Yeah,
those
that's
lines?
that's that's one of the interviewee led. Yeah, that's one of the good examples of an
Okay.
interviewee led
Hmm.
case study.
Hmm.
Uh, they the recruiter mostly wants to see how you structure your thoughts,
Hmm.
how you structure the problem. Would you be able to break the bigger problem into its smaller components? Did you
Yeah.
miss any component, or did you encompass every single thing,
Correct.
and so on? So that's the purpose of interviewee led versus
Hmm.
an interviewer led is mostly that interviewer would be giving you the problems in small chunks. Let's say
Okay.
they were to say that company X is suffering a huge amount of losses,
Okay.
and the reason for that is they are depleting. Their natural resources are depleting. Can you elaborate on what could be the problem? So if I were to answer him that, okay, political environment, instability in political environment could be one of the reasons. Then he
Okay.
would give you an additional data point, which will help
Okay.
you reach an end goal. Then he
Mhm.
would say that yes, government is helping you out with some of the incentives.
Mhm.
Political environment could be one of the reasons, but there's also a social upright that's coming in, or
Mhm.
social
Mhm.
unjust.
Mhm.
So more data points towards the end goal, and that's what an interviewer based case
Based.
study would look like.
Yeah.
So those are
Thank you.
those are the distinctions between the two, Raghav.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that.
Um,
And how can we be best prepared for case study?
the key here is to practice
Mhm.
and practice. The more you practice, the better you get. If, like everything else, it's you putting in more number of hours for an interview based, and sorry, for the case study rounds.
Okay.
The strategy that I followed is I joined a case study solving group during my first year itself, and I sat with these key set of people. We used to connect on a weekly basis, sometimes bi-weekly, and
Mhm.
solve one case study each week. And then we used to analyze or look at each other's problem solving methodologies,
Mhm.
understand what challenges we faced, and
Yep.
extrapolate our set of challenges to them, give each other's feedback, host a session. Like I could play as an interviewer first, and you
Mhm.
once you sit in this side at this side of the table, you better able to scrutinize what you
Yeah.
might be looking for in the candidate as well. So those focus groups, those kind of team building definitely helped me in the longer run,
Mhm.
since I did face one of the case studies in one of the banking companies I applied for.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah.
so I think that's one of the keys. There's a book called Case in Point.
Okay.
Try reading that. It's pretty intuitive. It gives
Mhm.
you like step by step detail. It's mostly uh, it focused towards how you should go, what are the types of case rounds,
Mhm.
and how you can go about solving each of the problem. It also provides you some of the frameworks in which you should be how you should be approaching each one of those problems. So I
Sure.
think those are the key skill sets which people could be looking for.
Yeah, that's great. And you mentioned the name of the book, Case in Point. I will link the books in the description box. I think there are also a lot of case competitions which happen at Schulich,
Yeah.
which can help you know, how to crack a case study. So those are beneficial as well. My last question to you, Anchal, is what differences, what is the work culture like in India versus Canada, especially in management culture? I'm sorry, management consulting. People have heard horror stories of 16 hours work weeks, and the boss is always after you are answerable to
Yeah.
the client any time of the day. So how is that, like, if you could explain it?
For sure. The work culture over here in Canada is great. And
Mhm.
one word, if I were to describe it, one word, it's great.
Mhm.
I like it over here at PwC. I cannot speak for the rest of the big four companies,
Mhm.
but for PwC, as of now, my overall 1 year of experience, I completed 1 year last month. So
Congratulations.
thank you so much. So yeah, it's been great so far. Uh, I've One of the key differentiators for me was the focus on mentorship. From the day
Okay.
one, I was assigned a coach
Mhm.
uh, who happens to be my manager. He was one level above me,
Okay.
and still till date he is my manager in the same we are working on the same project as
Mhm.
well. He's
Okay.
being my coach, he's my manager. It's a key relationship that we are it's a unique relationship that we have built together. And he we have weekly coaching touch points where he would ask me for my key challenges that I'm facing during the work,
Okay.
or is there anything that he could bring to the table,
Mhm.
or he could help me out. And if I have any hurdles and if I don't understand anything related to finance or
Mhm.
related to how to work in Canada or whom to connect with in Canada, he would
Mhm.
help me out and jump in and tell his point of view on what he would do if I were in my shoes. So the emphasis on mentorship is huge. I can connect with anyone from partner level and up, and I connected with national consulting partner. Her name is Michelle Groning. People are very
Okay.
much open to networking
Mhm.
and talking about their journey. And if you were to bring your set of problems to them, they will be happy to jump on the problem and tell their way of solving things. Uh, which I did not experience in India. I think my reluctance towards networking could be one of the reasons why I did not connect with many people over back home.
Mhm.
But I think if I were to do that, I think I might find people helping you out back in India as well.
Yeah.
However, again, if I were to say, like, one of the again differentiators over here in Canada is people have people have like a lot of collaboration skills. They know their team's performance should full impact if they were to lag or slack behind. So
Mhm.
everyone is very proactive in solving their problems. People tend to raise hands for every problem received from the client side. The competition is definitely very tough.
Mhm.
Coming from a consulting point of view, it's a cutthroat competition. I'm
Yeah.
being really honest over here. And politics is again, it remains constant. Politics everywhere you go. So I think I can speak for that. So overall, in terms of positives in the culture, I think mentorship remains on top.
And I think along with the mentorship, one course which we have
Yeah.
during our MBA is power and politics,
Oh
because
yeah,
politics is a given anywhere you go in the world. There will be office politics.
that's
So
true.
way you can find your way through that office politics, that course helps a lot. So yeah,
Definitely.
that's one more tip for the listeners. All
Yeah, please
right.
take
Yeah.
Power and Politics by Ina Chadda if you can. Like, it's a really good course.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that course too.
All right. Thank you so much, Anshul. You shared your knowledge with us. It was really insightful. And if people want to reach out to you, I'm linking your LinkedIn profile in the
Definitely.
description section. So if people reach out to you, I'm sure you'll be willing to help them out.
For
And
sure.
yeah, thank you. It
Yeah,
was, yeah,
I
go ahead. Go ahead.
I hope the listeners find something valuable from this conversation. Feel free to
Yeah,
reach out on LinkedIn, and I hope we can have an in-person coffee rather than the virtual ones, which we are so used to. So really looking forward to meeting everyone. And thank you, Raghav Bhai, for hosting this session, having me over. It was great speaking to you today.
my pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us today. All right.
All right, have a great day. Bye.
You too. Take care. Bye. And that's the episode for today. If you liked it, please subscribe to our channel, press the like button, and leave us a feedback in the comment section down below. Until the next time, this is me, Raghavendra Harne, signing off. Take care.